Now, due to the disobedience of Saul, by his failure to destroy all the Amalekites, God had rejected him as king of Israel. That's where we stopped in the last part. Now, in this second part, Samuel is understandably upset. He's grieving, he's mourning the rejection of King Saul by the Lord. So God now speaks to Samuel. How long are you going to mourn Saul for, seeing that I have rejected him as king? Now rise up, wash your face, take your oil, go to Bethlehem. I have chosen one of the sons of Jesse to be the new king of Israel. Samuel says, God, if Saul hears that I have gone to anoint somebody, won't he kill me? God says, don't worry. You take sacrifice and go and offer it to me there. So you're not lying. You are offering a sacrifice, but you're going there for a main reason. Just don't mention that reason. Keep that to yourself. So Samuel gets up. He goes to Bethlehem. When the elders the leaders at Bethlehem saw Samuel coming, they were terrified. Because usually when a prophet comes to a city, a nation, maybe they've done something wrong and God set them like a judgment, they were terrified. Is everything okay? Have we done anything wrong? Which is a stark contrast to nowadays. Nowadays, a prophet goes to a city, he goes to a nation, he's treated like a rock star, he's treated like a movie star. People go to see him, they lift him up on their shoulders, they are parading him all around the town. Prophet so-and-so is in town, prophet so-and-so is in town, prosperity has come. They're not terrified that a prophet is there, is bringing the message of doom from the Lord. Nowadays, it's all a message of prosperity. So Samuel reassures them, everything is fine, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. So consecrate yourselves, I'm inviting you. And then he invites Jesse and his sons, he consecrates them and invites them to the sacrifice. So when Jesse and his sons arrive, Samuel sees the firstborn son, Eliab, and he immediately thinks, this has got to be the new king. He's the oldest, he's tall, he's handsome, tall like Saul. He's got to be the new king. God tells him, Samuel, I don't look at appearances as a man does. I look at the heart. He is not the one. I have rejected him. So Jesse makes all his sons walk in front of Samuel. There's Abinadab, there's Shammah. God tells Samuel, I have rejected all of these. All sons walk past Samuel. God has not selected any. Samuel now asks Jesse, are you sure these are all your sons? And then Jesse says, oh, there is the youngest, David. He's out with the sheep, he's a shepherd. Samuel says, okay, go and fetch him. We shall not sit down and we shall not eat until he arrives. So David is called. David comes into the presence of Samuel and the Lord says, he is the one, anoint him. So David is now anointed by Samuel in the presence of all his brothers, and Samuel offers the sacrifice. After David has been consecrated, an evil spirit from God now comes upon Saul, because Saul has now been rejected. God has now chosen another person after his own heart. And this is how David gets known to Saul. Because when this evil spirit comes upon Saul, Saul just behaves insane. And then a servant of his suggests that he should get someone who is skillful at playing music, so that when the evil spirit comes upon him and that lad plays the music, the evil spirit can depart. And that's how somebody said, I have seen a son of Jesse. He's very skillful at playing the harp. Maybe he can help. So David is sent for. And then each time the evil spirit from God comes upon Saul, David plays his music, it soothes him, and the evil spirit departs. So even God in his mercy, even though he has afflicted Saul, but he still in his mercy finds relief for Saul. It's like a woman in labor. So even though God put this curse on women, you know, because after the fall, it says we'll be in pain. But when you're in labor and the pain starts, you know, you have that pain, intense pain. And when you feel you can no longer bear it, then there's a relief. It goes down. You're able to talk in between the contractions. And then it starts again. And then you're like, oh, I can't do this. And then it subsides. So God in his mercy still gives us relief. So he still gives Saul relief from that evil spirit. And now the Philistines had been tormenting the Israelites, coming out to battle for 40 days. Every day the Philistines will gather, the Israelites will gather, and they had a local champion called Goliath, who was a giant. And Goliath keeps on taunting the Israelites, saying, send your champion, let him face me 1-to-1, let's battle. If he wins, we will become your servants. If I win, all of you will become our servants. And they come out every day, day in, day out, but nobody can face Goliath. Because apart from the person being killed, all the Israelites will become their servants. So nobody can come out. And this goes on day after day. Saul is in despair. He doesn't know what to do. He is the king. He's supposed to lead this battle. But he's also afraid for his life. Because Goliath is a really tall giant. So one day, because I think David, even though he's now in Saul's service, he still goes home, you know, tends his sheep, comes back, he goes and comes back. So David is now with his dad Jesse, looking after the sheep. Jesse sends him with some provisions to take it to his brothers who are at the battlefield, because they're in Saul's army, and asks how they're doing and if everything is okay, and bring word back. So David keeps his sheep in the care of another shepherd. So you see, he's still caring at heart. He doesn't just abandon the sheep. He leaves them in the care of another shepherd, and then he takes the provisions. He sees the captain of their guard, you know, gives him gifts, asks, you know, about what's going on. At that time, Goliath comes out. Goliath is now taunting the Israelites the same way. David is standing there and saying, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? How dare he taunt, you know, God's army like this? How dare he mock the God of Israel? What shall be done to whoever kills him? So the people tell him that whoever kills him will marry the king's daughter. The family will be exempt from paying tax, you know, and other goodies. And David says, you know, yeah, this can't go on. We have to deal with him. So his brothers now hear him discussing this and say, what are you doing? Where is the few sheep you are looking after? You have started again. What is your business in this matter? This is a matter for men, not for boys like you. David said, what have I done? I'm only asking questions. I just want to know what is going on. You know, can't I even talk? Meanwhile, people have now taken the news to Saul. They said there is a boy. If he thinks he can defeat Goliath, this is what he's saying. So Saul sends for him. You know, he sees David. David is a young lad. He's ruddy. He's, you know, he says, you can't fight Goliath. David says, I fought the bears and the lions when they came to take my sheep. I fought them and I won. The God of Israel gave me victory over them. This Goliath, is he much more than a lion or a bear? I can defeat him. Let me go. He can't keep on doing this to God's army. And Saul says, okay, the Lord be with you. He took his armor, he took his shield, everything. He put it on David. He said David should wear it and go to battle. David put it on. He couldn't walk. You know, he said, I can't wear this. I'm not used to it. I haven't tried it. I can't put this on. Just let me go. Saul says, okay, go, and may God be with you. So David goes. He takes 5 stones and he takes his sling. He goes, he faces Goliath. He says, yes, I am going to face you in this battle. Goliath laughs in disdain. He looks at David with scorn. He says, am I a dog that they sent you to me? Today I'm going to feed your body to the birds of the air. David tells him, you come out to me with your sword and with your shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the name of the God of whom you are mocking. Today I will cut off your head and feed you to the birds of the air. David, he takes his sling. He puts one of the stones inside it. He runs fast towards Goliath. He shakes his sling. He throws it. The stone lands straight on the forehead of Goliath. It sinks straight into his temple. Goliath falls down, face down, bam, onto the ground. The earth shakes when he fell. David ran towards him. He took Goliath's sword and cut off Goliath's head and lifted the head up. The Philistines see that their champion is dead. They fled. So when they fled now, the Israelites now, they had that courage. They pursued and they killed more of them. This was how they were victorious, and David won this battle with Goliath. So Saul now asks, that who is that young man? Whose son is that young man? Because he knows who David is, but he doesn't know much about his father. So he says, whose son is that young man? Because obviously, if he's going to be his son-in-law, he needs to know much about the father. So they said, well, his father's name is Jesse. You know, we don't really know much about him. So they find out for the king. Now the women, they started singing. You know, Saul has killed his thousands, David his 10,000s. This infuriates Saul. Saul is now worried about his kingdom. He now thinks David wants to take the throne away from him. He says, see what these women are singing. I have only killed 1,000, David 10,000. From that time onward, he started plotting how he was going to kill David. Now he's supposed to give David the daughter as the wife. That was the plan. But he was making the plot. He said David should go and get the foreskin of Philistines. If he brings it, he will marry the daughter, because he thought they would kill him in battle. David was successful because the Lord was with him. When Samuel anointed David, the Holy Spirit came upon David. So from that time onward, he was walking in the Spirit of the Lord. So God gave him success, just like Joseph, in anything he did. You know, so Saul tried to spare David, like with the spear, to kill him so many times. But God always rescued David. David was able to escape. Later, David married Saul's daughter. You know, and then Saul said the men should go and bring David. He wanted to kill him. David had to run. So he ran to Samuel to tell him that this is what he was facing. Saul heard that David was with Samuel. He told some men to go and bring him. The men got there. There were some prophets prophesying. Those men joined the prophets that were prophesying. Saul sent another batch to go and bring David. They also, when they got there, they also started prophesying. In the end, Saul himself went, that he's going to go and get David. He got there. He also joined the prophets. He also started prophesying. People started talking that is Saul also among the prophets. You know, so Jonathan, Saul's son, loved David. You know, he loves him like his own soul. You know, their souls were knit together. And he decides that he will help David. Saul is not happy. See, his daughter loves David. His son loves David. You know, why are my children conspiring? They're supposed to be on my side. Don't they understand, especially Jonathan, that if David is still alive, Jonathan will never be king. You know, David has to die. But Jonathan is not interested in the throne. He's not interested in the kingship. He loves David. And he can see that God is with David. So he doesn't buy the dad's, you know, whatever plan he has for him to become king of Israel. David tells Jonathan, why is your dad trying to kill me? Jonathan said, no, he's not trying to kill you. You know, if anything he wants to do, he will tell me. But David knows that because they are so close, Saul is not going to tell Jonathan that he's planning to kill David. Then David says, okay, there's going to be a meal, a feast with your dad. I'm supposed to be there because David is one of Saul's officers in the army. I'm supposed to be there. I'm not going to be there. This is a test for you to know if your dad wants to kill me or not. So I will not go to that feast. If Saul is going to miss me because my seat will be empty. If he asks and say, where is David? Tell him I have gone home for a special sacrifice that we do at this time of the year. If he gets angry, that means he's planning to kill me. But if he doesn't get angry, then he's not planning to kill me. Jonathan said, okay, I will do that. And then I'll come back and let you know. There will be a sign. I'll use a young lad with arrows. So when you hear, you just stay over there. When you hear me tell the young lad that the arrows are near here, that's a sign that you can come out. If I tell the lad that the arrows are far, that means run. You quickly get out of here. My dad wants to kill you. So at the feast, Saul notices David's empty seat and asks Jonathan, where is David? And Jonathan, he doesn't ask the first night. He thinks, okay, maybe David is unclean, spiritually unclean. That's why he's not at the feast. So he doesn't say anything. The second night, he asked Jonathan, where is David? And Jonathan said, he asked permission from me to go home, to go and offer sacrifice. That they normally do it at this time of year. So I gave him permission to go. And Saul was furious. He was furious with Jonathan. How dare you connive, with my enemy against me? He wanted to kill Jonathan. Jonathan was so vexed. He got up. He did not eat. He just left the table. So he now had to go. The plan. He told David, and he got the boy, and he told the boy that the arrows are far. They are far. They are ahead of you. They are far. Get them quickly. Get them quickly. Get them quickly and bring them. So the boy did not understand that this was like a sign. So the boy got the arrows. When he came back, Jonathan told him to go. And David came out of his hiding place. And they both hugged and cried and wept and made a covenant with each other. And, Jonathan said, I know you will be king. And when you're king, I'm going to be your second in command. Just promise, make a covenant that you will not kill me. You won't kill my family. And David makes that covenant because there was that thing those days. Once a new king takes over a throne, he kills all the family of the former king so that they will not become a threat to him. And David makes his vow, his covenant with Jonathan, that he will not do that. David bows before Jonathan, and then he goes to the town of Nob. So when he gets to Nob, he has some men with him. He goes to Ahimelech, the priest. He's the grandson of Eli. You remember Eli, the priest during the time of when Samuel was born. So he goes there, and immediately the priest sees him. He asks him that, why are you alone? Because David, being an officer in Saul's army, is supposed to work with other men, with other soldiers, other officers, not alone. So I said, why are you alone? Because he was a bit worried. And then David told him that I'm on a secret mission from the king. He has sent me, so nobody needs to know I'm here. But we are hungry. Me and my men, we are hungry. We haven't had anything to eat. Ahimelech says, the only food I have is the holy bread. Are you and your men clean? Have you stayed away from women? And David said, we've not been near any woman. We're on this secret mission. And Ahimelech gives him the bread that, okay, they can eat. But one of Saul's servants, Doeg, an Edomite, was present. He witnessed all this between Ahimelech, the priest, and David. After Ahimelech gives David the bread, he asks, do you have any weapons here? Because we need weapons to fight. The priest said, the only weapon we have here, is the sword of Goliath, which we kept. That's the only thing. And David said, the sword of Goliath is even good. I prefer that. So he gives him the sword and he gives him the bread. So King Aki's servants told him about David. So then Saul, he hears that David is in Nob. So he tries to go there too, but David has left, because he's pursuing David all over the place. David has left. David went to Gath, the Philistines' territory. So when David got there, the men went to tell the king, King Achish, that David is here. This is the man who killed Goliath, the man whom they always sing about. So David had to pretend that he was mad. If not, they would kill him. So the king says that, why did you bring this madman here? We have enough madmen in this town. Why did you have to bring him? That was how David was able to escape, and he left Gath. He went to a cave at Adullam with his men. This is a man who had been anointed by Samuel as the next king of Israel. He's now in hiding. He's now running away from Saul, because Saul is planning to kill him. So he in the cave, he's visited by his family. They came to see how he's doing. 400 other men also came. They're men who they owe money and just hooligans and ruffians. They came, they all joined with David. David becomes their leader. So he goes to the king of Moab. His great-grandmother Ruth came from Moab. He goes there, he takes his mother and his father. This is the first time that David's mother is actually mentioned. So he takes his parents to the king of Moab and asks them to look after them. He's on the run. He can't look after his parents. He can't look after his family. So the king of Moab says that's fine. They can take refuge here. He looks after David's family. Then Gad, a prophet, he also joins with David. So Saul, because he's so paranoid and suspicious, he's talking to his men that nobody will tell him where David is. Everybody are planning against him. Everybody is plotting against him. Even his own children are plotting against him. Nobody wants to tell him. So that time, now Doeg, the man who was with the priest, now told Saul that he saw David with Ahimelech. This is what the priest did. Saul sends for Ahimelech and all the family to come. So when they came there, he says, how dare you do this? He's my enemy. You looked after him. You gave him bread. You gave him a sword. You prayed for him. The priest said, don't involve me in this, because I don't know that there's any problem between you and David. And I don't know why you want to kill him anyway. He's very loyal to you. He does not wish you any harm. That guy is fiercely loyal and devoted to you. He's not plotting your downfall. He's not plotting to destroy your ministry. So why do you want to kill David? Saul is not happy. He tells his men to kill all the priests. The men refuse. They don't want to kill the priests. These are the priests of the Lord. So he tells Doeg, the Edomite, to kill all the priests. Doeg killed all 85 of the priests. He doesn't care. He's an Edomite. They hate the Israelites anyway. He kills all of them. And then he now goes to Nob and he kills all the people there, including the women, including the children, except one, Abiathar, who escaped and he went to join David. David was so sorrowful. He said it was his fault that all the priests were killed, but Abiathar should stay with him. So now David has a prophet, Gad, and he has a priest, Abiathar, now on David's side. So David hears that the town of Keilah are being invaded by the Philistines. So he asks the Lord, he's got a prophet and a priest now. He asks the Lord, should he go and save Keilah? God says, go, you will be victorious. So David goes to Keilah and he's victorious. Saul hears that David is in Keilah. He says they should go there. God has given David into his hand, because Keilah is a city with just one gate. Once that gate is locked, there is no way out, no way in. So he has now caught his enemy. David asks the Lord, will Saul come here? God says yes, he will come. He says, will the people of Keilah hand me over to Saul? God says yes, they will. Because Saul will not mind to kill everybody in the city just to get to David. So he knows that once they get there, he will tell them, You either hand over David, or I kill all your women, all your children, everybody. They will hand David over. So David has to quickly leave Keilah. This is a place where he has gone to save them. But it's understandable anyway that instead of all of them to die, they should just hand over one man to Saul. So when David has left Keilah, Saul heard he has left. Saul did not go there anymore. He had to leave. So Jonathan went to look for David where he was hiding, and he encourages David. He tells him he knows he's going to be the next king of Israel. He shouldn't worry, his father will not kill him. Just make a covenant that you will look after me and my family. Don't worry about it. And he encourages David, and that revives David's spirit. That at least Jonathan is still on his side. So then there was another place where Saul would have almost caught David. He was closing in, almost got him. But God allowed him to hear news that his where he left, his city was being invaded. So Saul had to abandon chasing David and went back to go and defend his city. That was how God saved David again. In every situation, God was on David's side. God was just saving David from Saul. And because he hadn't done anything to Saul, he was innocent of this. And that's what happens. If someone accuses you falsely that you have done something wrong and you haven't, God will exonerate you. God will deliver you from the person. Sometimes these things just happens, or it's just enemies that just comes and sows discord because they can see that you are close. God will always rescue his own. David never took matters into his hand, but God always delivered him. So, and then Saul found out that David was in the cave. He was near the cave. He went there without knowing that the place where he went is where David and his men were hiding. So when Saul bent down to use the toilet, as David crept up, behind him, Saul never heard a thing, and he caught a bit of his royal robe, and Saul finished, he left the cave. Then David called him. Why are you chasing after me? Why do you want to kill me? Who has told you that I'm plotting you? See, I cut off a bit of your robe. I could have killed you, but I didn't. Because why should I kill the Lord's anointed? Even one of David's men said, yes, see, God has given your enemy to your hands. Just kill him now. And David refused. How dare I raise my hand against the Lord's anointing? I said, see, Samuel was a bit, remorseful. Oh, you're a better man than me. Because who sees his enemies and let them go? Okay, I'm sorry, I have offended you. But obviously, it didn't last long. And then Samuel dies. The whole of Israel mourns Samuel, the greatest prophet that they had. And then David and his men, they are hungry, starving. They cannot have a land and plant and harvest because they're always on the move. They're always running away from Saul. So they cannot settle down anywhere. So they were just living, from bags and tents and quickly running away. So they heard that Nabal, somebody that they've helped, was sharing his sheep. So and when they're sharing sheep, there's always lots of food for the men and everything. So David sends word to Nabal and says, we looked after your men, we looked after your sheep, nothing happened. Can you give us some food? We are starving. And Nabal was insulting to David, saying, how, this is how slaves run away from their masters. Why should I give you any food? And David was infuriated by that response. He says that, okay, he's going to go and kill all of them. One of Nabal's servants runs to Abigail, Nabal's wife, and says, our master has insulted David. David is going to come and kill all of us. Yeah, we don't know why our master talked like that. And David and his men, they were nice to us. They were kind to us. We don't know why he would do that. So when Abigail heard this, she quickly got up. She prepared food. She prepared so many things. She put all the food on a donkey, told her servant to go on ahead. She was on another donkey following behind. When she saw David coming and his men, she quickly got down from her donkey. She bowed down to the floor. She said, my lord, don't mind my husband. He's a fool. He's just like his name. He's a fool. please don't, because of this, come and kill all of us. See, I have prepared all of this for you. So David looked at her. She's beautiful and intelligent. He says, okay, because you have come to me, because you have provided this, because of your words of wisdom, I will not do what I wanted to do. If it wasn't for you, I would have killed. Not one of Nabal's men would have been left alive. So she gave all of that. She went back home. Her husband was drunk, you know, because he was there feasting and drinking. She decided not to say anything to him that night, to wait until the morning when he was sober. So in the morning, when Nabal was sober, his eyes were clear from the drink. He said, do you know what you would have caused yesterday? You would have caused the destruction of all of us. This is what happened. This is what you told David. And this is what I had to do. So when Nabal heard this, his heart failed him. You know, his courage deserted him. And 10 days later, he was dead. So after he died, David heard that Nabal was dead. He sent some men that go and bring Abigail. I'm going to marry her as my wife. He says, so when she came, he saw her beauty. I said, I'm going to marry her. That was how Abigail became his second wife. So, you know, he's now got 2 wives, and they will always be on the run with David. They can't settle down somewhere. And then he had the second chance to kill Saul, you know, because Saul and his men were sleeping and still chasing after David to kill him. They were all sleeping. God caused a deep sleep upon them. David and one of his servants, they crept into where exactly Saul was sleeping. They took his sword, his spear, and his jug, water jug. You know, that's why Psalm 127 says, unless the Lord watches over a city, the watchman stays awake in vain. All King Saul's men around him, his bodyguards, everybody fast asleep, putting the king's life at risk. David took the spear and the water jug, and they left. Even his servant, David's servant, said, let me just spear Saul into the ground now. He will die. Nobody will know. David said no. They took it. He went. David stayed on top of the mountain. He called out to Saul and his men. He says, see, if I wanted to kill you, I would have killed you. See your spear and your jug. See, how did your men protect you? Everybody was sleeping, and I was able to come right close to you. And still, this should show you that I'm not after you. I'm not bad. I'm not evil. I'm not trying to destroy you. I only want what is good for you. You are the Lord's anointed. You know, how dare I raise my hand against you? Once again, David says, you know, you are a better man than me. You know, I'm sorry for what I did. David says, call one of your men to come and take your spear and the water. So that's what he did. Then David now goes, he's tired of running up and down, to go and live with the Philistines. He decides, okay, this is the last place that Saul will come. Saul will not dare come to the Philistine territory because he's the king of Israel. So he goes to King Achish. This is the same King Achish. When he went at that time, I had to pretend that he was mad. But this time, King Achish accepts him because he's heard that Saul wants to kill him. David is on the run. So he knows that, okay, maybe David is not really, you know, the Israelites' favorites anymore. He takes him in, and he trusts David. So Saul stops looking for him when he hears that he's now living with the Philistines. King Achish gives him and his men Ziklag, one of the cities that they should take it as their own. They should live there. So they settle in Ziklag. So his men, their wives, children, everybody, they settle in Ziklag. David goes secretly to go and kill Israel's enemies, but he tells the kings he tells them he kills someone else. So the king doesn't know that he's kind of double dealing, you know. So then the Philistines now camped against Israel in battle. Saul sees the Philistines. The Israelites are afraid. Some of them are running away. Saul asks the Lord if they are going to win the battle. There is no answer. Now remember, he has killed all the priests. So there is no priest for him to ask about if he's going to win or not. And he has banned all the mediums, the witches, the soothsayers, the fortune tellers from Israel. So he inquires and he's told that there is a medium living at Endor. he says, okay, he will go and visit her and find out if he's going to win the battle, since God is no longer speaking to him. So he disguises himself and he goes, he sees the witch at Endor. And then he says he wants to contact somebody who has died. The woman said, you know, King Saul has banned all of us. Is this a trick so that you can now hand me over to the king? He says, no, it's not a trick. I swear down by my life, nothing will happen to you. I just want you to call up someone. So she says, okay, who do you want me to call up? He says, call up Prophet Samuel. So immediately she sees Samuel, she screams, she says, your Saul, you have deceived me. You know, and then he says, he still reassures her that that's fine, nothing will happen to you. When he hears that the witch has seen Samuel, he bows to the ground. Samuel says, why are you bothering me? Why have you brought me back? What do you want? He says, God has not answered me, and there's this battle with the Philistines. Am I going to win? Samuel says, both you and your sons are going to die tomorrow, and the Philistines will capture Israel. So when Saul hears this, he gets so weak because he's not eating. You know, he's so weak. The witch offers him food, which he initially refuses to eat. But they all managed to talk him and saying he should eat the food. So now this battle is there. King Achish wants David to join his army against the Israelites. And David is willing to join that. Yeah, he's on their side now. But fortunately, he doesn't have to fight against his own people, because the leader of the Philistines army is angry and says, no, David cannot fight with us against Israel. Is this not the man that they used to sing? Saul has killed his thousands, David is 10,000s. Is this not the man who killed our champion Goliath? And if he fights with us, what of in mid-battle? He may switch sides and go to Israel. We don't want him to join. So the king tells David that I trust you. You're like an angel from heaven. I have nothing against you, but they don't want you to join. So it's fine. You and your men, just go back home. Go to your wives and your children. David says, so what have I done? The king says, I trust you 100%, but they don't want you. So you haven't done anything wrong. So David takes his men. They go back home to Ziklag, where they now meet a terrifying thing. When they had all gone to go and join in this battle, their city had been raided by the Amalekites. They had taken away all the women and all the children, all of them, the animals, everything. So when all the men, everybody saw their wives had gone, their children had gone, even David's 2 wives were taken, all the men started crying. David started crying. They cried and cried and cried until they could not cry any longer. You know, and then the men were ready to stone David, that it was his fault that all their family were taken away, because they followed him to go to this battle. If not, they would have been here to defend their families. So, but the Bible says that David encouraged himself in the Lord. So he now asked the Lord that, should I go after the Amalekites, you know, to get all the people back? And God tells him that you should pursue and you will overtake and you will recover everyone. So David takes 600 men and they pursue to go and take all the women and the children back. So when they got to a river, 200 of the men were so tired they couldn't go any further. So they decided, okay, they will stay on this side of the river and look after all the baggages and stuff. So 400 continued to pursue the Amalekites. They met an Egyptian slave who was almost dying. They gave him food and water. His spirit revived. They asked him, who are you? He said, I'm a slave from Egypt. My master, an Amalekite, abandoned me here 3 days ago because I was sick. You know, so we went to battle and we went to this city, Ziklag. We took all the children, all the women, and we were going back. I felt sick, so he abandoned me here. So David says, can you take me to where they are? And so he said, I will take you there, but you need to promise that you won't kill me yourself and you won't hand me over to my master. And David promises. So this Egyptian slave took David and all his men to the Amalekites, and they were there drinking and eating and feasting, not expecting any surprise ambush at all. They thought they'd been successful. And that was how David and the men were able to kill a lot of these Amalekites. Some ran away, and they recovered every single person that they captured, that they kidnapped. No one was missing. So they all went back, and they took all the spoil and everything. And when they got back to the river where the other 200 men were waiting, and some of the men that went with David, the 400 men, said, these men that didn't go with us to fight should only have their wives and their children, no more, no less. We're not sharing the spoil with them because they did not come to fight. And David says, no, 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 don't do that. We are all one. We are all together. The battle, we didn't fight it. We didn't win it. The Lord gave us success. So we are all together in this. Everybody just share it. So they all shared the stuff. And then as Samuel had told Saul, there was the battle between the Philistines, and the Philistines killed Saul and his sons the same day at that battle. Saul, he didn't die immediately, but he was badly wounded. He asked his armor bearer to kill him, but the armor bearer didn't want to kill him, maybe because he's the Lord's anointed or because he loves him dearly. He refused to kill Saul. So Saul took his own sword and killed himself, and then the armor bearer also killed himself. So on the same day, Saul and his sons and his armor bearer, they all died. So when the Philistines were going around, looking at all the dead bodies, they saw Saul. They were happy that they had killed the king of Israel. They cut off his head, and they took it with them and put it in their Dagon, the temple of Dagon, because that's like a victory to them that they killed the king. You know how they took the Ark of the Covenant and put it to Dagon. So they put his head and they hung his body. And then the men at Jabesh Gilead heard about this. So they went in secretly in the night. They were very brave and took the body down and burnt it and took the head, and then they gave him a decent burial. And that's the end of the 1 Samuel where Saul died, and then so we're going to continue again in 2 Samuel. So I thank you all for still being with me on this journey. Thank you for all your support. Consider subscribing to my channel, and I shall be back with 2 Samuel. God bless you. Bye.